welcome to Gail Scott Key's Entertainment Now special. I'm your host, Gail Scott Key, with my co-host, Christina Millsaps. And we'll be bringing you more specials and intimate discussions with stars. But right now, we have a lovely couple that are dear friends of mine and a spiritual influence to many all over the world, as their spiritual journey started in Chicago back in the early 70s. But today they call Boston their home. Their story is one of faith, courage, hope, and strength. Roger and Marcia Lamb, who have served in the ministry for over 50 years, they've co-written 2 books. This Doesn't Feel Like Love, and This Doesn't Feel Like Love Either. You can get them on Amazon.com, and I'm going to send you links so you can also get your copies. These books are incredible. And they also have produced, written, and won an award-winning short film called The Cross. I'm going to show you a clip of that film and a little bit of this interview. But right now, it is my honor to welcome both Roger and Marcia Lamb to the show, joining us right now. Roger and Marcia, I can't tell you how thrilled we are to have you here on our show tonight.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
Oh, thank you.
Great honor to be here. Thank you.
Well, I want to ask you both so that the audience can get familiar with you. You know, before the calling for both of you to serve God and to launch your lives in over 40 countries, God had a plan for your marriage that would last for over 50 years and counting. Would either of you care to share a little bit about how your love for each other first began?
I love telling this story. As God would have it, I grew up in Colorado and then went to high school in Germany. My dad was in the military. And Marcia grew up in this little bitty town of 900 in Indiana. And we both went to this small Christian college in Arkansas. And Friday before classes started, our freshman year, where the 3 sidewalks meet in front of the student center, this guy introduced this beautiful girl to me, and I was just smitten. And she doesn't remember it at all.
No. Sorry.
Oh, this is already starting off good here.
So I had to work on my first impressions. But, pretty soon, all the seniors started dating her. So I said, you know what? I'm going to make her my friend. So we sat together for 2 years in English classes and worked on homework together, and then also went on mission trips during the summer together, all 4 years of our college experience. So very much started off as a friendship.
Yeah. And the friendship has lasted a long time. But that was absolutely the best way to develop our relationship. It's full of fun. He was my advisor.
Yes. She came from corn country, so she didn't mind my humor. You know?
Yeah. So, when did you guys actually end up getting married?
That was in August of 1968. And that was right before our senior year in college. Our parents were very concerned that we wouldn't finish school. But in reality, we both had the best grades we'd had all 4 years. So I think it was because we didn't have to go to the library and make Google eyes at each other, you know, and waste time being on, you know, courtship and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great. It was we grew up together.
Yeah.
We helped each other grow up, actually.
Yeah.
It was a little young.
Yeah. We knew what we were doing, of course. Just ask us, you know. But
Our big budget.
but God really has worked a lot of good things out of it. Yeah.
For sure.
It's so inspiring, the longevity. I mean, there's just so much richness that comes from when we get to talk to people who've been together that long, been married or been together that long. I mean, it's like a lifetime, and it's like storybook, like what you see in the movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Roger, you had a dream of recreating a church that you had read about in the book of Acts, and both you and Marcia led the church in Chicago. For how long was that calling, and how did that vision come to life?
Thank you. That's a great question. Well, the group of churches that we both grew up in really focused on trusting the scriptures and trying to be the church that Jesus built in the first century, just trying to recreate that. But it also grown into quite a rigid environment. And for example, the churches weren't integrated, and that's not what I read in the Bible. And so there's those of us that came through the end of the 60s, experiencing all that we did with the reaction to all the racial issues finally being addressed, the Vietnam War, the assassinations, of the two Kennedys and Martin Luther King Jr. And it just was such a rough time. But we came out with deep convictions. We wanted to build a church that was different and was better. And then we were in a little town in downstate Illinois of 10,000 people, 10,000 college students. And I hired a campus minister who just really changed my whole life. And we got started on just really going back, teaching Jesus principles and living it out. And that church just expanded and grew. And then we planted a church in Champaign, Illinois. And then we were asked to go to Chicago, where we had our churches had planted a church up there, and it was just exploding. It had grown quickly to 350. And then we were there really only 3 years, but the church went from 350 to 1,500 during those 3 years.
Wow.
And it was just an astounding time of life. And it definitely wasn't us. It was a movement of God. Yeah. We just saw this recent movie, The Jesus Revolution. Mm-hmm. And frankly, it reminded me a lot of what was happening with us there in the 80s. Mm-hmm. It was really astounding. Yeah,
for sure.
Wow. It's just,
I'll think of what.
Love how they just looked at each other. Did you see that moment? They're just like looking at each other.
So sweet.
One of the things that struck me, with what Roger's vision and others was that we had gone to Christian college, so we had a lot of Bible knowledge, and that was sort of what was important with the years we were growing up, to really know your Bible, which is important, and we're so grateful. But the personal relationship with God wasn't emphasized as much, and changing your life, being born again, really making life changes was the thing that really drew me and made a difference in my whole life, for sure.
Have been making differences in a lot of people's lives, including Dan and mine, and anybody who has the pleasure of knowing you both. And Roger, when you were talking about the changes, it's important for everyone to know that you also lead the squad group at the Boston Northwest Mission Center. And so if you'd like to elaborate on the acronym of the squad and the group, and I've had the pleasure of speaking at the church about it and sharing a little bit about my background, but I have to just hold you up because I'm so proud of this group. I'm so proud of both of you for bringing this group together. Could you share a little bit about that as well?
Well, thank you. It's been a privilege to be a part of it, as a lot of people just have been responsible, and our leadership has just really been totally behind this, which is awesome. So as I mentioned, when we built our churches, we were not welcomed by the establishment, very similar to the movie. And they eventually asked us to go do our own thing. And that sort of was a blessing, because then we built churches that were very much about Jesus being Lord and about loving each other deeply. and really living out the one another scriptures. And then one of the convictions was we were going to build a church that would be open to all people, and it would be integrated with all people. And that's really what God has blessed it. Now there's 700 some churches in 150 countries. And but a few years ago, it became obvious, like when all the turmoil was going after the sad George Floyd tragedy, that we have a very diverse church, but it had only gotten so far deep. And so a lot of pain was coming out of people saying, I've not been encouraged to talk about this or that. And so we decided, and the leadership really, like I said, in the Boston church said, we need to help these people. So they asked me to help, along with a group, to start what we call the Social, Cultural Unity and Diversity group, the squad. And it's to find the needs that aren't being met in the church, and then bring that to the attention of the leaders, and then also bring solutions to help do that. So that's been just a fantastic experience the last few years. And it's really one of the most gratifying things that I've been able to do now since being retired. It's really been good.
Oh my goodness. It has been amazing. And everybody who I have talked to, some of the sisters I know, Natasha and Faye Beckert, who are in my family group, they're amazing. And we just hold you up on the highest regard. And we thank you. Thank you so, so much for giving a voice to so many and having it spread. So it's just amazing. Another thing that's amazing, and Christina, I know you have a bookshelf there, and you're going to have to clear it off because there are 2 books that you're going to have to get. For those of you out there, there are 2 books that Marcia and Roger have written, and the first one is This Doesn't Feel Like Love. And these books are very powerful, and this Doesn't Feel Like Love either is a sequel to this one. And I'd love to have you both share about these books, because for a lot of us going through a journey of heartache, there's been heartache for you, and these books tell about the heartache. So would you both like to share about these books with us?
Okay. Well, the book, This Doesn't Feel Like Love, the first book, came out actually from an invitation to write a church bulletin, which was supposed to be just like that long. And I started writing and I couldn't stop. So I was encouraged then to go ahead and turn it into a book. And it's primarily writing about when Michael was just 6 years old, and he developed childhood leukemia. And at that time, there were hardly any cures from leukemia. And my faith was weak and young, and we were in the ministry. So in my heart, I just felt like, wow, God, we're giving our lives for you, but this doesn't feel like you're loving us. And so I don't understand. And the way I handle things usually is, if I don't understand, I go find the answer and go digging. And so I did a lot of searching in the Bible, the stories, the words about grief and sorrow, and just healing, trying to understand, and pain, trying to understand how Jesus handled pain. So, and my own, of course, because I developed, Michael eventually was, after 3 years of treatment, and 5 years, they watched to see if it comes back, was cured. And we were so excited. And then shortly after that, I got cancer, two rare cancers around my uterus, in my uterus. And it was very rare, very risky. So I could understand how God would have mercy on a child, but I thought maybe God was punishing me, or, as I once thought, that God was trying to get Roger a different wife. He could do better. So I had all kinds of those kind of feelings that I think we all do when we don't understand hardship and pain. But this digging helped me so much to really see God, to really begin to understand him, and to see his plan is bigger than mine, and his guidance is far wiser than mine. So primarily, what have I forgotten, Roger?
No, that's really good.
So that was the first book.
That came out in 1996, and we thought, okay, we figured all this out now.
Oh, yeah.
And then we had to write another book, came out last year. And this is a book that's it's part parenting, it's part walking with your parents home, walking them home in later years. It's part dealing with our grief and loss of our son and our daughter, our other two kids in the last 8 years. And then all of our parents passed, of course, and my sister and Marcia's brother. So it's just been a lot of stuff, happening. So we tried to put what God had been showing us and trying to be very real about it, not sugarcoat it, but getting the richness of the scriptures that really ministered to our hearts and helped us get through it, as well as the great advice that we got from people. The subtitle of the book is "Waste Not Your Suffering."
Yes,
That was our dear Gloria Baird. She used to say that all the time. And that really has helped us get through many things.
Well, up on my shelf back there, I have Christy's clock. So it's Christy's time in my office always. She always goes, I had it over here, but I have it over here. So I always, when it makes comfort, everybody says it looks so comforting. And I designed everything around that clock because you both were so wonderful to give it to me. And I had her on my phone to pray with her. And when I went back into the office, don't you know, I had a picture of her that I forgot that was in my office drawer. And we're talking about years after COVID. And I went back into the office and I had the picture of Christy. So very dear. And
thank you.
Thank you.
They just are amazing. And we're going to lift everything up because we have, before the chosen, there was a cross. And one of the stars who was in there, he's on right now. And he wanted to hop on. And he wants to say hello. And we're going to wait for his audio to come up. And then we're going to show a clip of him, Agustin Rodriguez.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, right now.
Hi, Agustin.
Fresh from the Oscars, right?
And we're live here on the red carpet. Marcia, and Gail, how are you?
So good to see you, bro.
Thank you.
So good to see you
So
too.
we have a scene right beforehand. Agustin plays Judas in The Cross, the award-winning short that Roger and Marcia wrote. And she's an award-winning writer. And you all have to see this because Agustin played this clip, and I'm going to show it to you right now. And this is quite incredible.
I am among you as one who serves. I tell you the truth. One of you is going to betray me.
Surely not our Lord. John, ask him which one he means.
Who is it? The man I give the bread to after I dip it.
Lord,
ايوه يعني
مين ايه اللي بيعمله؟ ايه ده؟ هو
what you're about to do quickly.
Judas what are you doing؟ هو اللي هيعمله ده هو هيعمل ايه؟ Lord please رايح فين ده؟
I will die first before I let anything happen to Jesus.
Simon Peter,
Yes, Lord.
Before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times.
Me, Lord. Never.
So, my goodness. Judas, Augustine,
Oh.
what in the world? This production was incredible. And I do want to make sure that I give the correct props because this Roger played it in church. And when I saw it, I said, I need to have this. I need to have Roger and Marcia on the show. And I just want to give a little bit of background for everybody. Because again, before The Chosen, this was incredible. He was becoming the ICOC director in media and created the Kingdom News Network. And before The Chosen, as anybody knows about Christ or is curious about Christ, has been watching, you and Marcia wrote an award-winning short film called The Cross back in 2017. Roger produced the film with Barbara Kraft, and the film was directed by Lance Tracy. Marcia, you also had written upon the story of this, and it won the Telly and Aurora Awards in the New York International Independent Film Festival Award and seen all over the world. So without further ado, Agustin Rodriguez, who played Judas, we wanted to make sure we reached out to him and we said, listen, guess who's coming on the show? And we'd love to have you coming on and just making a guest appearance. So thank you, Agustin, for doing that with us.
Sure, it's good to be on. It was so good to see Roger and Marcia and Christina. I see Christina. I had to scroll through. I just popped on. I didn't notice you were there. So good to see you.
Good to see
Yes.
you. Yeah.
So tell us, how is it being in this role of playing Judas and being in this production by Roger and Marcia, and what was the dialogue to get you involved in this production?
Well, let me tell you, my trailer had no sandwiches in it. I don't know what happened. It was a complete disaster. No. It was. I'll tell you, I was so honored to do this because, to me personally, like for my faith personally, to be able to participate in such a project, such an important message and story, meant a lot, meant everything to me. When people ask me what was some of the highest or the best things you've ever worked on, always mention the cross. There were other things that there were stunts and it was fun and it was, but this, obviously, because of the message of Jesus, because of my personal faith, to be able to do that, just you can't top it. You can't top it. And to work with my friends and family here, who are amazing. It was pretty. It was that was it. It was pretty amazing.
Roger and Marcia, how was it for you writing the story, this story about Jesus and having it put on film? There are so many dynamics that I love that you bring. There was a clip that you had shown in the Church of the Moon running, Mary just running from seeing the tomb and just screaming, and that high-pitched scream. I was like, whoo, I could hear that.
Yes. Well, we've been intrigued, of course, with the cross and the resurrection for most of our lives, and it's what really made the difference in our lives. But most of the film presentations that I'd seen just were so stilted and stiff and religious and just not real. And so finally, when we had KNN, we started doing news videos around the world because our churches were growing so fast and wanted to inform everybody. Then we started doing dramatic videos, short films, taking the parables of Jesus, putting them in modern settings. And Marcia wrote the stories for most of those. And Agustin played an awesome a villain in many of those.
Yeah.
He's the nicest
Very
guy
Nicest
now,
villain.
Augustine.
that does the greatest job playing a villain. Just look at his filmography; it's amazing. But the cross had been on our hearts to do, so really privileged to be able to do that, to try to portray the cross and Jesus well in a real reality, and then have the resurrection. Most Jesus movies up to that time did not include the resurrection, which is the whole point of the story, you know.
Yes.
Why do you think that is, if they didn't include that? That's a very good point.
Mhm.
You know, it's the religiosity for part of it, and I think not wanting to offend some sensibilities. I don't know,
I have no idea.
but it is definitely, yeah. Who knows? Why was Jesus blonde haired and blue eyed? You know,
Yeah.
It's very impressive. I mean, to win the Telly and the Aurora Awards, I mean, that is some like behind the movie. I mean, that's what an honor, like to, I'm sure, Augustine, for you to have been one of the main stars. And you know, this wasn't even that long ago. I mean, 2017 wasn't, I mean, it wasn't like, you know, 30 years ago. And this is just, I mean, where do you think, or where are, like, other than maybe, I'm guessing YouTube, like, where can people go to see this movie so that they can see like the cinematography and all the acting and the story, most importantly?
Yeah, it actually was the end of the 90s when we did it. But the Disciples Today, K&M became Disciples Today, has a YouTube channel, and all of our videos are on there. All of the news videos, the short films, and the cross is included in there. So if you just go on YouTube and look up Disciples Today, you should be able to find it.
Okay. Post that too on the, so that all our viewers can see it as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Marcia really contributed a very significant aspect to the story.
We were really, I was really touched with, of course, that story changed my life. But to be able to see the story and make it as personal as possible, I felt like it was important that we see everything from Jesus' point of view. So the shooting, the filming, everything was done. Roger and Lance did an amazing job, just working so hard to get everything from Jesus' point of view, you know, to focusing on the faces of the people he was talking to, and focusing on the other men at the cross on either side of him. And it just, I felt like that was just a way to bring it into our hearts in a more personal way. And then, of course, we don't know what Jesus looked like. So for each of us, our thoughts of who Jesus is and was, we can put that in there. So that's pretty much what, you know, gave it the impetus to do that. And and I can't say too much, Augustine, how great you did.
Yes.
Yes, as you really, well, you put your Christian heart into, you know, this.
Thank you, Marcia.
And
every time I see The Chosen, I think about you.
I do too.
And they should have got Augustine.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Marcia. Thanks, Roger. Wow. Yeah, it's amazing what they're doing now. So I'm so glad to see that in The Chosen. And right, we're so glad to see these very human stories. But that aspect, Marcia, what you mentioned about, you know, seeing it through Jesus's eyes, we've never really seen that before. You know, we've never seen like what is he seeing? The kindness in people, the shock, the awe, and then the terror and the humiliation, like all of that. You're seeing, as the viewer, you're experiencing that. So I really like that. That's an important thing that they got to see.
You know, it's interesting that you said that, because I told Dan when I saw this clip and when you sent it to me, Roger, I closed my eyes, because today in this world, there's so much animosity, hate. The world seems like it's going inside out. And when you try to reach your hand out for peace, it feels like, where are you finding peace? So you reach your hand up, because that's where the peace is coming from. And I would like to think with all my heart, believing in God so much, that when you close your eyes, imagine if we were watching that today, real time. Would we be the ones, if we saw him walking by, hobbling through with this big old cross over his back, would we be the ones offering water and not caring if we were beat back by the soldiers? Would we be the ones who would be stopping them? Would we be the ones who would be at that cross, like that soldier pierced him to find he was still alive, and have his blood just washed across his face in the wind? And he realized at that moment, this was Jesus.
Yeah.
And it's not too late. That's the whole message. It's not too late. And with the skill in the writing, and especially the masterful craft of just being an amazing, amazing actor, Agustin was able to bring that to life. And it just chilled my heart to make me say, what if we turn the time back, would you be that type of person that would follow him? And I would like to think that I am. And so with that said, as we close, as the time always comes to a close, I do hope, and I will put the link following the show, because I'm so honored, Roger and Marcia, we just love you. There's just
love you too.
If there was a face of Jesus, here it is. If there were the words of Jesus, you always bring it, and you comfort us. And I hope that this time will comfort you both.
Thank you.
And we send our prayers to you and your family, and we thank you.
Jesus never looked this old. I just want you to know that.
Roger was the voice of God, by the way. In the did I give it away? Okay, I don't want to.
I believe.
Spoiler. It's one of your spoilers.
Yes, I was.
That's great.
I would listen. I'd be like, okay, well, think about it. Like, do your chores. Okay, God. I'm gonna And Agustin, thank you so much for making this such a special time. We appreciate you carving out the time and taking my little trip in New York prior to. That was wonderful. The floating chopsticks. I put that up in the video. I gotta love that. And you can see Agustin. He is in Falling Down, one of those great cult music romantic movies with Michael Douglas on YouTube as well. But this is more important.
Yes, it is.
And I'm so proud of you. And of course, the lovely Christina Millsaps. Thank you so much. Right in the corner pocket. We're going to have more shows for you coming on, but do not forget, I'm going to post these up here. This does not feel like love, and this doesn't feel like love either. And at the end of this broadcast, I did promise you there is going to be a song that's going to be from David Lamb, and it's with him and Morgan, who were at the school in Massachusetts, and they play this wonderful, wonderful song. So we're going to play that at the end of the clip. And for all of you, who knows, maybe the movie, maybe you are looking at having faith and you're wondering about it. Well, you can also follow us at the Boston Church of Christ. How about that? Because that's where we reside. So we hope to see you there. Thank you so much for taking this time with us. We so appreciate it.
Thank you, Gail.
So great. Thank
you. All of you. This is very special to us. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we close out, I'm going to play David Lamb's Finger to the Bone. It's Brown Birds, and it's with him and Morgan. And you guys have to hear the song. Oh, I'm going to play it. So stay tuned.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. My fingers to the bone. Not a pretty little penny have I got to show. I ain't looking for much, just a little bit of rest by the side of the road. I lift my voice to the forces above, the lords of labor and the goddess of love. Ain't I been a good, hard worker? little bit of rest for the day that I die.